Alright, we're live. Sorry about the wait there. I lost like 4 people. Because they couldn't wait like 2 minutes. Come on, guys. Technical difficulties, okay? I can't help it. But yeah, I don't know. That was stuffing up. Nothing was working in there for a second. And it still wasn't really, still not really working, to be honest. But I just need to set up all my screens quickly. So just give me 1 second. See what's going on in the market this morning, or this afternoon, or tonight, depending on where you are. Grab some water. Alrighty. Excited for another live stream. Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited for one as well. I like doing live streams. I like them. I think they're better than videos because I don't really, actually, that said, live streams don't reach as many people, so I can't really say that. But in terms of like the act of doing them, I do like them a bit better. You have to start with analyzing Bitcoin's crazy price action today. Yeah, I'm down to start analyzing Bitcoin straight off the bat. I'm just cautious because I don't want to start analyzing Bitcoin when I don't want to start analyzing Bitcoin when there's not many people here. That's all. So I'll wait a minute to get some people in there. Usually we get to around 20 or 30, and we should be able to do that again today. I don't see any reason why not. That said, the market's crashing, people aren't happy. But we've had this little rally, so, who knows. But I suppose there's a few things I want to go over today. I want to go over... I don't really care, Ethereum's interesting, right? I always say I want to go over Ethereum, but then when I get to going over Ethereum, I just kind of don't really do much with it, because I don't know what to say about it. It's kind of just a bit... boring, and there's not really much going on. Like, this chart it's not as compelling as Bitcoin's chart. It doesn't look as interesting. It's not as interesting at all. It's just kind of bounced a couple times throughout the entirety of 2021 and 2022. That's all it's done. Bounced twice. We had, for example, I guess we had a channel formation here, and some people wouldn't have seen that well. I mean, I can't exactly remember what it was, but it was I can't actually draw it right now. But if you remember my old videos on Ethereum, it's kind of hidden now because it's been chopped up during the price action. There was a long-term channel here from I think back in April all the way through to December. And I can't see it right now because, as I said, I think it's been chopped up during the price action, but it was definitely there. And that channel kind of decided the entirety of the price action on Bitcoin. On whatever it's called, Ethereum. Just see if my device is working here. 1 second. Thoughts on using indicators for trading? Thoughts on using indicators? Yeah, use indicators, for sure. In terms of what indicators, I guess you're asking what indicators would you use for trading? Well, trading's a different story, right? Trading's subjective. You can use whatever you want for trading. It kind of depends on the time frame. But in terms of, my general indicators that I use on a very, very regular basis, I've got them all here. Alright, so I've got Blinger Bands, I use it regularly, Gaussian channel, the VVPR, which is the volume profile, I use that very regularly. I use volume. Volume's extremely important. Bull market support band, Ichimoku Cloud, 50 and 200 day, or 50 and 200 SMAs in general. And then I also use stochastic RSI, I use the RSI, I use the MACD. Alright, those are the critical ones in my opinion. And then if I wanted to go a little bit further, I can even show you some of my list here. If I mentioned Ichimoku, yes I did. Moving average, so some exponential moving averages. So I got the 9 EMA, 25 EMA, and typically something like the 80 EMA works pretty well. I use Fibonacci occasionally. It's not my favorite thing. Anyway, we're going to jump into Bitcoin now, guys. I'll just answer a couple questions, so just hold tight. We'll jump into Bitcoin in a second. So many YouTubers have made the flip-flop videos today with price action on Bitcoin. Well, that's exactly right. I mean, we had a very, very big night last night, or big morning, depending on where you live, and there was CPI numbers coming out. And obviously CPI numbers, that means the inflation numbers for the USA, and the USA basically controls most of the Western countries. And so if you live in any Western country, if you live anywhere in the world, it's very important that you understand what's going on with the US in inflation. And those are the highest numbers we've seen in 40 years, right? So highest numbers we've seen since the 80s. Insane. We're going to look at that in a second. And look, all I'm going to say before we get into it is that, if you're bullish on Bitcoin going into CPI being at the highest level in 40 years, and interest rates being, potentially risen in March, I don't know, man. It's very, very, very rough territory to be bullish in. It's just too Too many unknowns. It's almost dinner time for me. Yeah, well, that's how it is. It's 11 a.m. here, and given my sleeping schedule, I woke up like 30 minutes ago because I went to bed at like 4, because I don't want to miss those CPI numbers coming out. That's the thing about living in Australia. Yeah, everything happens at night here. Did you end up watching Blockchain Backup? I watched a little bit. I assume you're the guy who asked me to watch him about altcoin season a few days ago. Yeah, I watched a little bit. I haven't really looked into it too deeply because I think that I don't really agree with him, to be honest. I don't really agree with him. But I did watch a little bit, and we'll look into that. Look at the DXY, false breakdown possibly. Yeah, DXY is another thing I'm going to talk about. 7 minutes late. Did I miss anything important, good sir? No, I'm just waiting for people to join up. We're going to start Bitcoin in like literally 2 minutes here. Just going to answer these questions. BTC low on the daily, that is correct. Did you see BTC bottoming out 20? Where do you see BTC bottoming out 20k? Yeah, so I suppose the best way to start Bitcoin, and that's a good leading question there. We've got 20 people now, so it's probably enough to get started. Best place to start with Bitcoin is, what is my prediction for Bitcoin? Very multi-layered question here, but ultimately, actually, let's go on my respective chart here for Bitcoin. Ultimately, my prediction for Bitcoin, and we'll start off here. This is a great way to start the weekly chart. My prediction for Bitcoin is we're going to end up at the 200-week SMA, which is this green line. Okay, this green line. Now, the 50-week SMA is this red line, 200 is this green line. I think we're going to end up with 200. Well, why is that? Well, there's many reasons for that. One of the reasons is the fact that, well, every time we've had a bear market bottom historically, and not even that, but every time we've had a macro bottom historically, or long-term bottom historically, it has been on the 200-week SMA, and we've never closed one singular weekly candle below that point. So we're talking about not 2 occurrences, we're talking about 3 occurrences. We're talking about 2014 and 2015. So all the way through from January 2015 all the way through to October 2015, we kind of held this 200-week SMA for support, even in wake of a double top, okay, which occurred between here and here. We had a double top, and even in wake of that, we held the 200-week. Okay, then we bounced off of it, and that marked the bear market bottom, and we went all the way up to 20k, our 2017 all-time high, and then up here, or down here, I should say, in 2018, we came all the way down to 200-week SMA, held it for about 5 months, okay, 5 months of bouncing off of it, and we went up to our mid-bear market high in 2019, and then when that COVID crash happened, which a lot of you would know about, we went down straight into, on this COVID crash, which is very unpredictable price action, and a lot of people would say, well, there was no way to predict where we bottom. Guess where we bottomed? We bottomed on the 200-week SMA, right? We dropped all the way down, and we closed just above the 200-week SMA. So the thing about the 200-week SMA is the best place to historically buy Bitcoin is on the 200-week SMA because we've spent in total, less than 2 days below the 200-week SMA in the total amount of 48 hours, right? Below the 200-week SMA on Bitcoin, 48 hours. So, it's pretty clear that the 200-week SMA is basically the best indicator of a macro bottom that you're going to get, or a long-term bottom that you're going to get on Bitcoin. So buying around or at the 200-week SMA, or even on a wick below the 200-week SMA, is the best long-term move you can possibly make, given the data that goes back 6 or 7 years. Okay, so that's 3 macro bottoms on the 200-week. So that's brilliant information. And then taking it a little bit further, right? What we can see, and before we go into this, let's go into the fractal, because in order to understand what I'm about to show you, you need to understand the state of Bitcoin right now in relation to a fractal, right? It doesn't look like that. Let's take it back to the auto chart here. And then we go back to that chart. Okay, so in order to understand what I'm going to show you in a second, you need to understand this. Okay, this is a fractal from, this is a fractal from 2018 on a dead cat bounce. Let's go back to 2018, I'll show you where it's from. All right, so 2018, we topped out at 20k. This is all very important information. We dropped straight down in a similar fashion to what we're doing now. Okay, and we came up for a little dead cat bounce here. Okay, that is the dead cat bounce fractal that I've applied and scaled to meet the current price action. Okay, as you can see, there's a little bit of contrasting to the fractal that's going on now. We're kind of pumping up a little bit preemptively, but I mean the main point I want to get across is that this September period, all the way up to this November double top, right, was very, very, very similar, basically identical to the 2018 fractal. Even these periods of consolidation, we had 1, 2, 3 periods of consolidation, 4 periods of consolidation. They were all basically the same as the 2018 periods of consolidation. And so the kind of suggestion I'm trying to make here is that, well, I'm not trying to say the fractal is going to play out perfectly. It's going to be exactly the same, because that would suggest we go up to 56k, which I don't think is going to happen. What I am saying is that a similar structure could play out, in which we have long-term consolidation and finally a crash later in the year. Okay. Now, given the macro situation and given what's going on with March and interest rates being risen in March, that kind of takes away from that fractal a little bit. But the point is, the fractal's played out perfectly so far, and whether it plays out or continues to play out is up for interpretation. But the fact is that fractal was a dead cat bounce fractal, and the fact that it's played out perfectly so far indicates that we're in a dead cat bounce. Okay. Now, going back to the chart I was just looking at, and bringing it back to the weekly chart. Okay. What we can see is another similarity coming in on Bitcoin that supports my kind of target for 200-week SMA. And that is coming from the similarities between the 2018 breakdown and the current breakdown. So first and foremost, we dropped below the 50-week SMA. Okay, in 2018, dropped below the 50-week SMA. It took us about 4 weeks to reach the bottom. It took us about a 25% drop to reach the short-term bottom that I've just outlined there. Okay, we bounced back up. We went up 45% in 5 weeks. We rejected off the 50-week, and we ended up for 200 about 6 months later, or 4 months later or something. Okay? So what are we doing now? Well, something very similar. We've dropped below the 50-week SMA. Okay? It took 4 weeks, just as it took in 2018. 32% to the short-term bottom, very similar to 2018. And now we're bouncing up, and we'll look at the daily chart, retest the 50-week SMA for rejection, and then we'll end up at the 200-week within about 3 or 4 months. Okay, or November, or depending on whatever the time frame is. There's lots of different interpretations of time frame, but the point is the structure is very much the same. And this is why I say until we break 48k, because the 50-week right now is at 48k. This is why I say until we break 48k, there is no reason to be bullish on Bitcoin, because for all we know, and there's lots of evidence to support it, for all we know, we are just doing the same thing we did in 2018, based on a fractal and based off the structure. Okay, so that is my prediction for Bitcoin. That is my kind of overall prediction. And now I suppose you could say, well, what about the short term? What's going on in the short term? What about Bitcoin? What's it doing on a daily time frame? What's it doing on a 4-hourly time frame? And I suppose a good place to start with that kind of thing is the 4-hourly time frame. We'll start shortest and end up at the longest. The 4-hourly time frame is showing something very bad for Bitcoin, unfortunately. It is showing clear. Let me get the RSI up. I thought I had it there. It is showing clear bearish divergence on Bitcoin on the RSI. Remove this yellow trend line. I don't know why they put this in. Clear bearish divergence. Okay. Higher highs and lower highs on the RSI. Bearish divergence, very clear. And we're also seeing some form of, I guess you could say it's a descending channel. I would say it's an ascending wedge formation because it's slightly slanted. Okay. And so that would suggest that, hey, this is going to break to the downside. You could also say it's a bull flag, I guess. But I would not say this is a bull flag due to the low volume. I don't think it's going to be a bull flag. I also think because the long-term structure, as you can see with this long-term pink triangle, is an ascending wedge formation, I don't think it's a bull flag. But the point is, bearish divergence against resistance. Very bearish. Okay, and then heading back to the daily chart and bringing back up the stochastic RSI, because that's very important. I wanted to look at that a bit more. Stochastic RSI. What we can see, we remove the RSI there, is that every time we've had an RSI top, a stochastic RSI top, in the last 4 occurrences, we've had a dump on Bitcoin. Okay, and it's a little bit skeptical when you look at things like or a little bit iffy, I guess you could say, when you look at things like stochastic RSI and try to imply immediate price reversals, because it's not meant for that, and it's actually not a very accurate indicator at all. But essentially, what we've seen here is, for example, here, okay, we saw a top in the stochastic RSI. Immediately after we saw that top, we saw a dump on Bitcoin. Another top here. Immediately after, a dump on Bitcoin. Another top here, okay? Immediately after, a dump on Bitcoin. Another semi-top here. Immediately after, a top on Bitcoin. And what we're seeing right now is some form of top, okay? It hasn't been as quick, hasn't been as precise as the other ones, but the point is some form of top. And then we're taking into the other evidence, right? Taking into account other evidence, because you need other evidence. You can't just look at one indicator. And let me remove some of these yellow lines that I've just drawn in. Well, what we can consider when we're looking at other evidence is the fact that, well, as I said, we're in this long-term, or not long-term, but medium-term, since January 6th, ascending wedge formation, which is a bearish structure. During this wedge formation, in which we've been moving upwards, we've had descending volume on the green candles, right? Notice the green candles here. Notice the trend with the green candles. The volume is descending, okay? You can't really draw a trend line across of it because volume's not really represented by trend lines, but it's descending volume, right, on the daily candles there, which means that essentially the momentum is not there. The buying pressure is weakening. Okay, I explain this in every video. Same thing with the downside. If we were going down and we had descending volume, that would be a sign that we would be reversing to the upside soon, because it means that sellers are not are getting less and less interested at selling at the current prices than they were the day before. And so it's the same thing with the upside. It's like, well, people are less likely to buy right now at 42k or 43k than they were down here like a week ago at 36. Okay, and that's shown on the volume. And when that happens for too long, there's no actual indicator as to when it needs to flip. But when it happens for too long, it means that the trend's going to reverse. And it's been happening for a while now. And if we went back to 2018, we could show you quite clearly, and we might do this in a second, that on every single dead cat bounce in 2018, and for a matter of fact, every single dead cat bounce in 2014/2015, which is both of the bear market starts in the previous cycles, we had descending volume in an upwards trend. It was only when we started having ascending volume in the upwards trend that we actually broke out of the bear market bottom. So from what I'm seeing, there is no indication that this is not a dead cat bounce at this point. And you'd ask, well, what is the indication that this would not be a dead cat bounce? What is the indication that this is an actual rally that will take us to all-time highs? The indication would be breaking 48k. That is my indication. And even if we did that, say we did that tomorrow by some stroke of the imagination, right? I really don't think it's going to happen, but say we did that tomorrow, right? Well, at that point, you have to wonder. It's like, well, March is soon. You know, interest rates could be risen on the 15th of March. The stock market looks trash. You know, we could enter a recession. So how bullish on Bitcoin can you actually get? And that's what I'm kind of trying to put across here. It's like, even if the technicals looked good, which they don't, how bullish can you logically be on Bitcoin? And so let's look at another few things here. We've got Ichimoku Cloud, and this last daily candle that closed 20 minutes ago just broke below and rejected from the daily candle Ichimoku Cloud. Okay, so there's so many reasons to be bearish on Bitcoin, and there's very, very, very few to be bullish. So we've just dropped below or rejected from the Ichimoku Cloud, extremely bearish. We've just rejected from the Gaussian channel, quite clearly, extremely bearish. Bollinger Bands are on the top side. It means we have a long room to move to the downside. Pretty bearish. Okay, and then, well, let's look at another thing. Let's look at the 50 and 200. This is the only thing I'm seeing is bullish on Bitcoin right now. The fact that we've actually sustained above the 50-day SMA, which isn't much of an achievement. If you look back at the 2018 dead cat bounces, we actually did the same thing. Look back at 2015, we did the same thing. We jumped above the 50-day. Okay, we didn't get above the 200-day, which is a green line. It doesn't mean anything. It's a dead cat bounce. This is what happens to dead cat bounces. Now, the thing with Bitcoin right now is that it's in a position in which it can make a bullish structure. It can retrace back to 40k, and it can do something like this, which is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, right? So if you're actually bullish on Bitcoin, if you want Bitcoin to succeed here, you would kind of hope that it does pull back. But the point is, I don't think that we're going to have the strength remaining in Bitcoin left to swing to the upside once we pull back. I think it's too bearish. I think that it is over for Bitcoin in this cycle. I think that we'll be ending up at 200-week SMA. Okay, that is the simple scenario for Bitcoin, in my opinion. Now, looking at another chart, which is this chart that I've brought up previously, and this I haven't touched this chart for weeks, by the way. I just want to say that I have not touched this chart for weeks, and you can attest to that. My regular viewers can attest to that. This is my prediction for Bitcoin. I previously had two scenarios. One of the scenarios was we kept trending downwards in this channel, which is very unlikely, but I had to outline it because the trend is your friend until it ends, and at that point the trend didn't end. And the other scenario is this, and this is kind of a scenario in which we broke out, and I drew this out a couple of weeks ago, and I said we're probably going to reject from 45.5k, we're probably going to pull back to 40k, and then from that point we can make a decision. Now, the decision is we either retest 48k, which would be in line with the previous fractal I just showed you, in which we reject from the 50-week, because remember, we haven't tested the 50-week yet. And so even on this bearish short-term time frame, it is very, very important to note that we're probably going to pull back, I think, but even then, we could retest 48k. And I can tell you right now, this is the period, if this happens, and I think it is slightly likely to happen, this is the period in which we pull back up to 48k that people will get ultra bullish on Bitcoin. Ultra bullish on Bitcoin. Because people would think, hey, we had an inverted head and shoulders pattern, we formed a higher low, and now it's time to moon. And I think we're going to get cut off very sharply from that fractal and from the interest rates being risen in March. So that is a very dangerous zone for Bitcoin. And so this is what I mean when I say things like, you know, Even though there's a chance of being bullish, I would not be bullish, right? It's just very, very bearish chart. Because I think that, as I said, there is a chance that we pull back here, and I think it's a very likely chance we pull back here to say 40k. And then from 40k, there's probably a 60 to 70% chance we swing back to 48k for one final move in the dead cat bounce before dropping. I don't think this drop here is going to take us straight to 30k or 20k or whatever. I think we have one more impulse to the upside left. That's just based off time frame until March, and that's based off the fractal. Now, that said, and I want to make this very clear because people love misquoting me apparently, right? That said, I am not willing to enter any trade, any long position, any short position, because I'm not relying, too much on these predictions. What I am relying on is the fact we're going to end up at 200 week. That's my reliance. That's what I'm relying on. I'm pretty confident we're going to end up at 200 week SMA. Okay? I'm not pretty confident that we're going to go to 40k exactly and then go to 48k exactly and then reject. That's not what I'm confident on. That's a prediction. That's based on vague evidence. That's not necessarily, the best prediction I can ever give you. And that's why I'm not relying on it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? Because it's not really a concrete prediction. It's just kind of speculation. If I had to guess, that's what I would guess. But I don't trade based on if I had to guess. I trade based on what I believe to be certainties, okay, or very high probabilities. And what I see as a very high probability right now is us ending up at 200 week SMA. If we break 48k, we can talk about other scenarios. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin right now on a kind of larger scale. And I hope that's very clear. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, let's look into some questions here. That's because the US is a backup currency. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. BlackRock just made a major announcement. I'll check it out after the live stream. I can't look at it right now. I'll leak all my information. In fact, I can look at it on my phone for you guys if you want me to. BlackRock. In fact, guys, as well, what we're doing right now is we're dropping below 43k. And this is actually quite important. And I'll bring back my other chart while I'm getting this up on my phone. 43k is quite a major level. As you can see by this green box, I've outlined 43k quite clearly. And so if we close the daily candle below 43k, that would confirm that we're going to 40k in my personal opinion. And I'll just look up BlackRock currently. BlackRock news. BlackRock planning to offer crypto trading. Well, there you go. The largest asset manager, I assume in the USA, is rumored to be planning a big crypto move. So lots of things there. Maybe it's not from the USA. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's just more institutional. That's just more adoption. That's just more reason to be bullish on Bitcoin, I suppose. But when you talk about bullish, you should be talking about, you're talking about macro stuff, and the macro stuff is misleading. I'll just say that. Misleading. Very hard to understand. It's like with the Super Bowl, right? It's like with the Super Bowl. Let me just scroll back here. These companies have millions and millions of dollars pouring into advertising, and obviously they want Bitcoin or cryptocurrency to go up, so the exchanges get more revenue, more things, whatever. But you can't outweigh the technical analysis with random macro events like the Super Bowl. What you can do is try to outweigh the technical analysis with events like interest rates, because that actually affects the markets. But the Super Bowl doesn't necessarily affect the market. I don't think it's going to have a massive impact. You think about the amount of money that's in cryptocurrency. Yeah, I know a lot of people watch the Super Bowl, but how many people actually care about the adverts? Let's look at Ethereum quickly and just show this is just showing that Bitcoin and Ethereum move very, very closely together. And Bitcoin's just dropped below 43k, so we're seeing some live price action here. We can look at that in a second. And as Bitcoin's dropping below 43 or testing 43, Ethereum's testing 3k, which is relatively its major support zone. So let's go on the shorter term time frame for Bitcoin. Just look into this current quick move live action. And as I've said here, as I literally said 20 minutes ago, go back and watch the live stream. I said that I think we're going to break this ascending wedge structure to the downside. We've done that. Let's just delete the top line of the wedge, keep the bottom line, act as resistance, so we might actually swing back up and do something like this and reject down to this downtrending red line. That would be my short-term prediction for Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin's bearish right now, and that's just playing out perfectly. And we'll look into interest numbers in a second. Sorry, CPI numbers in a second. How do you think China will react to inflation news, if at all? I'm not sure about that. I don't know enough about that situation to give you a precise answer on something like that. What I do know is that inflation is very bad, obviously, and I know that CPI numbers are generally a big deal in terms of what's affecting the market, because if we look at Bitcoin, all we need to do is look at CPI numbers release dates previously, right? CPI numbers in November, I believe, released on November 10th. They happen on the 10th of every month. And so I don't know what's going to happen in China, but what I do know is that every 10th of the month, and I think it's changed, the date's changed now to yeah, it's probably still the 10th, right? There are CPI numbers being released. If we are in a time in which COVID is a big deal, if we're in a time in which lockdowns are a big deal, we're not fully mobilized as nations, we're going to see higher inflation is just a given. We've seen that for like what? I don't know how many consecutive months, dozens now. And so it's pretty much a sure sign that we're going to top out on Bitcoin. In fact, the very top of the cycle for Bitcoin in 2021 was placed on the same day that CPI numbers were released. In fact, within 10 minutes of CPI numbers being released. Okay? So very high volatility coming through whenever that happens. That fractal was a strong indication for sure. Yeah, it is. I think it is. Fractals should be taken with a grain of salt, obviously, but it's a good indication. That's what it's meant to be, an indication, not a precise move. But 2018 BTC fundamental / institutional interest was very different from 2022. So will we really hit 20k lows? Well, I mean, considering that, and people tell me this is a lot. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what the institutional interest is. Okay, let's look at the weekly chart again. I really want people to understand this because I feel like there's a big kind of misconception about this. It doesn't matter how many institutions are involved. Institutions lose money all the time, especially when you're talking about recessions. What do you think happens in a recession? Interest rates, if they go up, it is very likely that a lot of the big companies are going to default. And I don't, that sounds like such a conspiracy theorist thing to say, but it's not. Go back, look at when interest rates were risen previously. It happens all the time. So some of these institutions that might be holding lots of Bitcoin, it doesn't mean they can't sell just because it doesn't mean like they're going to force the price up. If a recession happens, people are going to sell, So institutions only have so much control and things like that. But, that's why we're seeing a sell-off right now. Why do you think we're seeing a sell-off? Do you think it was retail? It wasn't retail. It was institutions. And that doesn't mean it wasn't predictable. It was very predictable. I predicted it. But the point is they sold off so quickly in this sharp downwards trend because they're scared that if we do enter a recession, which is a very possible scenario, as we've seen by the sell-off, that their countries will default. Their companies will default. So that's what I'm saying there. It's like, otherwise, why would you see a sell-off this quickly? If there's so much institutional control, institutions can't be negative on investment. Why did we go from 69k to 33k in like 2 months? Because institutions are selling. Okay, it's not retail. Obviously it's partially retail, but retail just simply doesn't hold the power to do that. It just doesn't. And so regarding the 200 week, it's like, well, in 2018, institutional adoption was very different to what it was in 2015. That didn't stop us going for 200 week. In 2020, this is 2 years ago, institutional interest was very different to what it was in 2015, 5 years prior. That didn't stop us from going to the 200 week. So what's stopping us now? What's stopping us now is a mental block. That's what it is. It's actually not based on reality. It's actually a mental block saying it can't go that low, but it can. I can assure you it can. Right? It's usually always 85% drop from all-time high. And that's what I mean. It's like, well, I'm not even suggesting an 85% drop. 69k to 20k. And again, I'm not saying... by the way, guys, I'm not saying it's going to go to 20k. I'm saying it's going to go to the 200-week SMA. Right? Not 20k. There's a very big difference. The 200-week SMA is not 20k. So that's a good indication to make. It's like, if it happens in a year, if we get there 6 months from now, it could be 24k. So I'm not making a specific price prediction. I'm making a prediction about where we will be going in based of a moving average. So it's not necessarily 20k. But 20. If we were to go to 20k for argument's sake, that would be a 70% drop. I mean, let's look at the drop in previous cycles to see how much they were. So I'm suggesting a 70% drop at a maximum. Okay, previously it was 85% in that cycle there, and this one was 84%. Okay, so I'm suggesting 70%. If we were to drop 85%, I don't think we're going to drop 85%. I think that's too much. But if we were to drop 85%, we would drop to 10k. I don't think that's going to happen. I think at some point we need to take into account diminishing returns. Okay, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the 200 week is where we'll bottom out. As of right now, that could change. Let's see. JP Morgan states Bitcoin fair price is 38k. Remember when they want you to buy, and remember when they want you to buy, they want you to sell. Yeah. Well, look. Here's the thing about JP Morgan and all those big, Wall Street companies. There, it's like, do you think they're on your side? They're not on your side. They don't care about you. You know, they don't care about you. They care about making money. They're profit first. And that's the way a corporation should be. That's how it should be. But the fact is, they don't care about you. And if they say the fair price of Bitcoin's 38K, what did they say 2 months ago? They probably said the fair price was 80K. You know what I mean? Like, these companies, they're very misleading. And people like these crypto news channels on Twitter, they love to manipulate this information and make people buy. They love it. Because they know that's the only way the price is going to go up. And people get trapped with that kind of stuff. It's very dangerous when you take those things too seriously. That's why I like relying on the charts, and I like relying on very simple macro things like interest rates. Very simple. I don't like thinking Chinese New Year is going to make Bitcoin pump, because it's just all speculation. It's not based in reality. You know, I like to rely on things that I know there is a certain amount of control that I have. Yeah, and we had a steep decline from November, so it could be a relief bounce, correct? Well, it is, yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting currently we're in a dead cat bounce. Until we break 48K, I don't see any evidence that we're not in a dead cat bounce. Until we break 48K. If we break 48, at that point, I'll be very, very happy to admit that my long-term prediction was long, and I'd be very, very happy to, well, obviously depending on what it is at the current time. If we break 48K for 10 minutes, I'm not going to admit anything, you know. If we break it for 2 days, it's a different story. But, you know, we have to reassess when we get there, if we get there. But again, guys, I have no problem at all with admitting my long-term prediction is wrong, mainly because I don't think it's detrimental to how well this prediction's been. I predicted this initially at 58K. I've been advocating selling 66. If we buy back at 48, we're buying back 15K lower than I initially started saying sell, or 20K. So, you know, how wrong would I really be? But, you know, if I am wrong and we do go above 48K, we go to new all-time highs in 2 months, of course I'm going to admit I was wrong. Of course I'm going to say that. Because I don't claim to be right all the time. Not at all. In fact, I was very wrong about the all-time high here in 2021. I was extremely wrong about that. Now, what was I right about? Well, I called the top here. I saw that altcoin season was happening. I knew it was bad. I called the top. Okay, I called the bottom on the day here. I called the bottom on the day here in September as well. Okay, I missed the top. I sold over here. You know, at some point you have to take things with a grain of salt. It's like, although I was wrong about the top here, I thought we were going to go into 100K. All right, I fell victim to that. I thought we were going to go into 100K. Went to 69K. Although I was wrong, you know, less than 10% from the all-time high, I was already saying sell. And so you can say my long-term prediction was long, but that didn't affect my trading decisions. It didn't affect how much money I lost because I still sold way earlier than anyone else. So long-term predictions only matter to a certain extent. You know, if like, so for example, if I was saying we're going to go to the 200-week SMA, and then all of a sudden I say, nah, it's bullish again, and I bought it for 33K, and then we went to new all-time highs. It's like, yeah, I guess my long-term prediction was wrong, but I still bought it 33K. I still bought it at the bottom. So, you know, long-term predictions, again, should be taken with a grain of salt, but, you know, that's what I think is going to happen. I think at this point in time, there's no reason to believe anything other than 200-week SMA is going to happen on Bitcoin. Or very few reasons, I should say. Theta is Godzilla. Yeah, I like Theta a lot in terms of fundamentals. Great analysis. Actually sold at... whatever that time is. Only time I'll enter is weekly close above 44K. Yeah, I'd even say that's way too early, unfortunately. Like, we'll look at the weekly chart in a second. We haven't really looked at it too extensively, minus that fractal, but I'd even say that's too early. Love the TA, bro. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Exactly. No trade positions now, guys. That's what I mean. It's like, you know, I don't see why anyone would be trading right now. You know, if you're short-term trading, that's a different question. Obviously, you can always swing trade if you want to, or scalp trade. But just know that you're trading against the trend. You're trading against the trend. That's very risky in general. News is bought by those who make money on retail. Exactly. 100%. 100%. Should we all exit our altcoin positions? I'm not going to give you advice on that. Because I was advocating selling up here. You know, I'm not going to be the one advocating selling near the bottom. It's just not what I do. What I can do is give you my opinions in the market, and you can make decisions based off that or based off whatever you want to do. For someone looking to pick up Bitcoin as a long-term macro investment, decade plus, would it be wise to hold out until a 200-week SMA is hit? Well, you know, if you look at a decade plus, you have to weigh up how much you really care about getting in at 40K versus 20K. You know, it's a big difference in a longer term scale. If you buy Bitcoin at 20K, it's obviously 50% lower than 40K, so you're going to double your return. You know, I think that DCAing is all well and good, but you're going to miss out on some serious opportunities if you DCA too much. Now, what I recommend to you, mate, and this is my recommendation, you don't have to take this advice because it's just what I would do if I was in your situation. It's not directly advice to you. What I would do if I was in your situation is if we broke 48K convincingly, Okay, convincingly. I don't mean get over it for 10 minutes. I mean convincingly. And again, if we break 48k, I'm going to look at it first. That's not a signal to buy. That's a signal for me to look at the bullish scenario. But, on paper, if we break 48k, you'd start buying, you'd start DCAing. Until that point, I'd be waiting for the 200-week SMA. So the way I like to put it is that, as long as we're below 48k, the most likely option is the 200-week. As long as we're above 48k, the most likely option is new all-time highs. That's how I put it on Bitcoin. For someone, I just read that. Are alts destroyed yet? I think they are, man. Can you review Theta? Yeah, I can look at Theta. Actually, hold on 1 second. Before we get into altcoins, because I like to look at I'm going to start looking at altcoins at the end of the video, at the live streams now, because we just lose too many viewers when we look at altcoins. And I want this to be more interactive. So I won't look at altcoins in the middle of the live stream anymore. I'll still answer your questions. But altcoin charts specifically, I'll look at them, towards the end. Thanks for subbing, mate. Thanks for subbing, Seb. Let's look at DXY. This is very important. So if you don't know what this is, let me explain it to you. Don't go anywhere. Very, very important chart. In fact, this is one of the most important charts on cryptocurrency that isn't cryptocurrency, if that makes sense. So let me say it again. This is one of the most important charts about cryptocurrency that isn't directly cryptocurrency. Okay? DXY. You would have heard of it. If you've been around in crypto for a while, you would have heard of it. DXY is very important. And what the DXY is doing right now and what it does typically. So let's just kind of give you an outline of what the DXY is and what it does. It is basically a chart that measures the strength of the US dollar in relation to other global currencies. And right now it's at 95.79. Don't ask me what that actually means. But what I can say is that if it's going down, it means the US dollar is going down against other currencies. If it's going up, the US dollar is going up against other currencies. On a very essential level, that's all you really need to know about it. So what we can see is that it's heavily correlated to Bitcoin. Heavily correlated to Bitcoin. All right. So what was happening here? Well, here was 2018. So this was May 2018. My mouse is actually moving by itself. This is very interesting here. 1 second. So this is 2018. And what you will notice is that, well, this started moving upwards. The DXY started entering this upwards trend in January 2018. You ask yourself, what happened in January 2018? January 2018 was the top of the previous bull market. So the DXY started heading up when Bitcoin started heading down. The DXY stopped heading up when Bitcoin started heading up. Bitcoin started heading up in May 2020. That was after the halving. So, but right off the bat, that's a very clear indication that this correlation is very strong. Thanks for subscribing, mate. This correlation is very strong. So let me just explain that again. When the bull market top was placed, the DXY started heading up. When the bear market bottom was placed, or when we started trending upwards majorly on Bitcoin, the DXY top was placed. Okay, very strong correlation there. Taking it a little bit further, you'll remember if you go back in the Bitcoin chart, we topped out in May, right, or even April. It shows April here as well. That's when the DXY bottomed out. So when Bitcoin started heading down, DXY headed up. And if you go down to a daily time frame, and you can do this by yourself, I'm not going to do it now, but go down to a daily time frame, and you can see the correlation between these two things are absolutely insane. Okay, and what we're seeing now on the DXY is a strong uptrend, a double bottom formation, an inverted head and shoulders inverted head and shoulders pattern, depending on how you like it, depending on how you would draw this. I would say probably not, but you'd say a double bottom formation at the very least, and then an uptrending pink line, a very strong uptrending pink line. Okay, and we're heading into strong resistance here. And I suppose the question is, what will happen with the DXY? If the DXY rejects from resistance, Bitcoin will go up. If it breaks resistance, flips it for support, and continues an upwards trend, Bitcoin will go down massively. Okay, and then we have to ask, well, how can we predict how this is going to happen? Because obviously this is based on more than TA, right? This is based on a lot more than TA. But I mean, based on TA itself, though, we can see that, well, this is very clearly a bullish pattern. Okay, we've had a cup formation. When you see a cup, you don't usually just reject back down. You see a break. So based off TA, it's bullish. And then based off macro events, if interest rates raise, the DXY is going to go up. Okay, and interest rates are most likely going to be risen. So that's a macro picture for you. And that macro picture is very bad for Bitcoin. Very bad. Let's look at some comments. Okay, can you review Theta? Again, I'll look at that in a bit. I read that comment already. Besides crypto, are you invested anywhere else? Did you say you keep some BTC long-term? How much of your portfolio is that? Yeah, so I keep Bitcoin long-term in cold storage, some of it. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, I'll just... 1 second. I got new glasses, by the way. Long glasses. I don't... yeah. I don't know how I feel about that though, because why I said that is I usually have a beer mug with me, so I actually bought glasses because I think it's probably good to have glasses rather than just beer mugs in your house. Anyway, so do I hold Bitcoin in long term? Yeah, I hold like I think 20 to 25% of my net worth is in long term Bitcoin holdings that I'll never touch ever. Now I don't know how I feel about that. If I had to go back in time, I probably wouldn't have done that. But you know, I've had that for like a couple of years now, so I think I'm probably just holding it. You know, the way I see it is that like I see Bitcoin as something that's tradable, but I also see it as something that you should be holding as well. And so I think that being completely out of the market at any given point in time is probably a very risky thing to do. I like to be exposed at least a little bit, regardless of what the price is. And you know, I'm in a financial situation which I can lock up 20 to 25% of my net worth and not worry about it. And so yeah, that's why I've done it. Like, would I do it again? I don't know. If I had to go back to making that decision, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I mean, I'm just going to stick by that decision now. But like, yeah, the vast majority of my net worth is out of the market and ready to buy back in at 200 a week. So yeah, I do hold some Bitcoin long term. But I don't know if it's 20 to 25%. I haven't done the calculations, but it's like a minimal amount. What about Theta token? Today, 25% during Bitcoin pump. So I suppose that's why people want me to look at Theta, because it's gone up a lot. Yeah, I will look at it. Bitcoin's back at the 200-week SMA will slaughter anyone holding altcoins for sure. Altcoins will die. Altcoins are already dying. Many altcoins have broken down their critical structures. I mean, let's look at a basic general basis here on altcoins, right? We can look at, for altcoins, we'll look at the this is the total one index. This is kind of the entire cryptocurrency market cap. But if we want to look at altcoins in general, and this is very interesting. We'll look at altcoins in a second, actually. I want to talk about this. So this is the entire cryptocurrency market cap. Sorry, hold on a second. Yeah, no, it is. The entire cryptocurrency market cap. And what we've done is during this decade bounce, we've come up to resistance, and we've rejected, and we're going down right now. So this would be the most logical place to form a short-term high. But looking at altcoins, right, and what we can do to look at altcoins is we can look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance, here it is. I don't know how I didn't see that. And Bitcoin dominance has formed a very clear triple bottom formation. 1, 2, 3, and that means it's going to go up towards resistance. And for those of you who don't know, in a bear market, Bitcoin dominance trends upwards. Let's look at the weekly chart and give you an example of that. Okay, you can see that throughout the entirety of the 2018 bear market, this thing was moving upwards quite quickly. My mouse is really not working well today. Sorry, guys. So it's moving upwards quite quickly throughout 2018. And then when the bear market bottom got placed and when we started moving upwards on Bitcoin, it started heading downwards again. So this kind of represents that, well, when altcoins are dying, people aren't interested in altcoins. And when Bitcoin is the only safe haven, people are interested in buying Bitcoin. And so the percentage of money in cryptocurrency shifts towards Bitcoin. Whereas if you're in a bull market, like we saw here, that's when people don't care about Bitcoin because Bitcoin can only give you very, very minimal returns in comparison to altcoins. And people start buying altcoins, you know, rather than Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin dominance drops massively. And so what we're seeing in form of a triple bottom here is showing that, well, we're probably going to go up. You know, we're probably going to go up here. And that's an indicator that the bear market has begun, bull market's over. And I've been saying that for weeks. For months, actually. Months. But yeah, I don't think altcoins look good. And I think that many of them are going to die. If you look at 2018, all we need to do is look at 2018. The top 100, out of the top 100 in 2018, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was 12. Or 13 maybe, or 14, something like that. Out of the top 100 in 2018, only 14 of those coins reached all-time highs in the 2021 cycle. That just shows you how weak altcoins are in terms of longevity. Not many of them last a long time. Many of them die. Most of them die. Historically. Waiting for Bitcoin to dump to 15k, alts will dump 95+%. That's my entry. I would say that's too much, but you know, who knows? If we get to that point and we've entered a global recession, you know, who knows if the 200 weeks is going to hold? That's what I mean. It's like if we get down to 20k, get down to the 200 week SMA, wherever it may be, might be at 24k. For example, let's say we get down to 24k. The 200 week is there. We've never dropped below the 200 week before, but we're in a global financial recession. We're probably going to drop below the 200 week. You know, we have to see. Maximum lowest price for now. Not sure what you mean. While we wait for either 48k or confirmation of a 200 week hit maybe in November, do you think selling the rips of the stock market is a decent idea, and perhaps why? I'm not sure what you mean. Swing trading? Like, I mean, I don't know how to answer that exactly. Sorry, I'm just not really understanding. But in terms of like whether you think swing trading is a good idea, swing trading is always a good idea. I just don't like doing it. I just don't like doing it when the trend isn't your friend, because the way I see it is like, could I make money swing trading right now? Yes. Like, do I want the emotional stress for minimal financial gain? I don't need to do that. It's not like what I need to do right now. I can focus on rules of crypto. I don't need to swing trade right now. It's not like, unless there's a really good opportunity that comes out, like, yeah, I'll swing trade. But the way I see it is that, like, how long can a trend actually last? How long could Bitcoin be in a downwards trend? Even in bear markets, even in full bear markets like we saw in 2014, 2015, and 2018, like, it lasted like 6 months to a year. Okay, so can I wait 6 months to a year? It's already been 3 months. Yeah, I can. Like, I'm very happy. So what, another 3 to 6 months? Or another maybe like 8 months maximum if we're looking at November. Yeah, I'm happy to wait. I'm very happy to wait. And then, like, I'd rather wait until the market is basically free money rather than like stressful trading. Like, I'm not necessarily a day trader. Like, I don't want to be known as a day trader. If you like day trading, Mega Whale's the guy. Mega Whale, my friend Mega Whale, he's the guy to go to. Like, I do occasionally day trade, especially in bull markets. In the bull market, ask me 3 months ago, I would have said I was a day trader. I'm not a day trader now. I don't like day trading. It's way too, like, stressful. It's just like, I've been profitable day trading, but I just don't see the point, because usually what happens with day trading is, like, you just make like a couple $100 here and there after like hours of analysis, depending on your portfolio size. But I don't know, very risky. Like, I think there's a difference between, okay, here's the thing. It's like calling this 33k bottom was very difficult to do. I did not call the 33k bottom. I don't think we got a bottom at 33k. I thought we were going to come down to 30k and then bottom and then see a dead cat bounce to 45 or 48 and then drop down. So if we went to 30k, I would have bought, but we didn't. So missed opportunity, I guess. Please, people, make productive questions. It can be so frustrating to answer. No, it's all good. It's all good. Like, if you have a question that you think is a dumb question, please go ahead and ask it. Go ahead and ask it, because I can just answer that. Because, the chances are someone else is probably thinking of asking the same question as well. So no question is too stupid. No question is too stupid. Fed's announcement of half percentage rate interest rate hikes spooks market and bonds market. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know what you're referring to, but what I have heard from Federal Reserve is they're probably going to raise the rates in this March meeting. They're probably going to raise the rates. That doesn't mean it's certain, and that's why I reject the idea that it's priced in, because it doesn't mean it's certain. Can Bitcoin go lower than 200-week SMA? Yes. Can it? Yes, it can. Historically, it has not. But as I said, if we enter a financial recession, 100%. Is he underwater? Why is he blue? Yeah, man, I'm underwater. No, I like the blue lighting. I think it's cool. I think it gives it a bit more diversity. I don't know. I play around with the lighting a little bit. I used to have pink lighting. I don't know why there's so much stigma around the color pink, man. Pink is a great color. Come on. Thoughts on XRP and the SEC? Not many. I don't really have too many thoughts on it. I'm not a lawyer. Not a lawyer. I think that all the news articles are just like so biased. Like, when you look at anything to do with court, it's like all of the news articles, especially something like this, it's like, okay, all of the news articles that support the government are going to say the SEC is winning. Everything that, like, all of the crypto articles are going to say XRP is winning. It's like, why can't we just wait to see the result, Sorry, late to the video or live stream. So I'm starting over at the beginning. Big fan of your channel. Yeah, good. I appreciate that. I hope you find the Bitcoin analysis interesting there. Your thoughts on Bitcoin mining stocks? Yeah, I don't like it. I think I'd rather just invest in Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, those whatever, they could go down very easily. Bitcoin goes down 80%. Bitcoin mining stocks are going to go down like 90%. Did you not believe in the 85% drop? It has always dropped 85% before. Just because something's done something before, it doesn't mean it's going to do it again. Although I hate saying that, because I generally rely on things like that. That's what technical analysis is. But what I would say is that 85% is only sustainable for so long in terms of diminishing returns, and it's probably not sustainable anymore. That's what I'd say. Think about that for a second. 85% is only sustainable for so long. When Bitcoin reaches $1 million, it's not going to drop 85%. Why is it going to drop 85% now? Because it's done it twice. Twice isn't necessarily a trend. Something happening 2 times is not a trend. A trend has to be 3 times at least. That's when you can start forming conclusions. If something happens twice, that's just coincidence. Also, nothing will happen when you buy. Thanks for the market mindset playlist. New to crypto, just finished it. I learned so much from it. Looking forward to your content over the years and learning more about TA. Yeah, if you haven't watched my market mindset playlist, that is essentially looking at how emotions affect you in the market, what mindset you should be in. I mean, hence the name market mindset, in order to be profitable in a market. 100% think you guys should check that out. Very, very important information there. Very important. In fact, probably way more important than any given Bitcoin analysis I do. Extremely important. I uploaded it as a 2-hour podcast type kind of video, so you guys can watch it however you want. If you're doing something during the day, chuck it on in the background. Very important playlist. Will Bitcoin price drop for one big bounce before March? So will there be one more big bounce before March? Well, as I've said before, I think it's quite likely. Like, again, I'm not sure enough to like bet on this happening, which is why I'm not buying anything right now. But like, I think something like this is probably the most likely scenario. Yeah, where we drop down to like 40k, then we bounce back up to 48, and then interest rates are released. Interest rates are risen, whatever. Global financial markets react badly. We drop down. And again, this orange downwards line is not necessarily my prediction. My prediction is between April and November. November's based off the 4-year cycle theory. I would lean towards November. I said. Invest in gold? Yeah, nice joke, bro. Nice joke. Literally, why would I invest in... Investing in gold is such a joke. I seriously don't understand why people invest in gold. Like, that said, Bitcoin is not a store of value yet. You know, you can't say something's a store of value when it moves down bloody 80% every 4 years. It's not a store of value. Sorry, like, it's not a store of value. The goal is for it to be a store of value, but currently it's not. Like, gold is like, it's better than fiat in terms of storing value, but it's still terrible. Like, to say gold is an inflation hedge, come on, man. I mean, gold is what? Gold is the same price it was now in 2012. How's that an inflation have? You know, how much has inflation gone up since 2012? You know, why is gold like stayed even? It's not an inflation have. It's gone down against inflation. Like, so I don't know. It might be somewhat of an inflation hedge, but it's failing. What will happen to Matic, Link, Harmony? Will they survive and come back to all-time high? It really depends on the coin. I think Link will. I think Matic probably will as well. But again, I can't speak for 4 years in the future. It's just literally impossible. What's your thoughts on the whole metagaming market cap? What's your thoughts on the whole metagaming market cap? Literally the same as Doge. It could really boom in the few months, is my opinion. Not really sure I understand part of your question, but in terms of metaverse / gaming stuff, I think it's very good. I think it's very bullish, but I think that it's a very oversaturated market. I think that finding the coins that are actually going to be the ones that lead the way are very hard. Now, this is a good leadway into Theta. And we'll look at the stock market in a second. You know what? Let's look at the stock market now, and then we'll look at the Theta in a second. But I'll get back to your question in like 1 second, mate. But stock market, it will take me like a minute to look at this. Stock market's in an interesting position in which it's kind of forming a head and shoulders pattern. Some would say it is, at least. Head and shoulders. I'd say it's a head and shoulders. Okay. And we're rejecting basically from bull market support band right now and from red resistance box. We've had a double top formation on a shorter term time frame as well. And we're seeing bearish divergence across the board. And we're seeing stochastic RSI top out. What we do have for support is the 200-day SMA. Okay, that's very important support zone there, but we're getting clamped between the 50 and the 200, and we're at risk of a def cross. And looking at how close March is, March 15th is only there where my cursor is right now, and I think we're going to drop in the S&P 500. I think we're going to see a major correction. Which will be very bad for Bitcoin, because correcting on the S&P 500 leads to the DXY going up. If the DXY goes up, Bitcoin goes down. Okay, let's look at DJI. DJI is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and this is looking at basically accumulation of the 30 top companies. The S&P 500 is for 500 top companies, and so Dow Jones looks incredibly bad, even worse than the S&P 500, because this can't go on forever. This insane growth just simply cannot sustain. You know, it's as simple as that. And just looking at, all you need to do is look at RSI, really. I mean, you know, and technical analysis should be taken with a grain of salt when it comes to traditional markets. But that said, it still matters. It still matters a lot. Like, the support and resistance is still incredibly important. But what I'm seeing is a rounding up formation on the DJI, and I'm seeing clear bearish divergence since November. Clear, crystal clear. You know, you can't get more clear than that. Straight downwards line. Clear bearish divergence. And that would suggest that we're probably going to drop down. Where do I think we'll drop to? Very hard to say because I don't know if we're going to enter a recession or not. But I would kind of target something like that. I would target that 29 to 30,000. I think it looks terrible. Yeah, holding the 200-day as of now, as of current. But bull market support band's been lost. Bollinger Bands are tightening. There's a move on the way. And as I said, interest rates are rising soon. So, well, they might be at least. I don't think it looks good. I wouldn't be betting on any of this. We lost the Ichimoku Cloud as well. But again, TA only matters to a certain extent. But, you know, the macro situation just isn't good regardless of TA. You can see the rounding out here. You know, it doesn't look good. You know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You go up in a straight line. You have a rounding out formation. Broadening wedge. That's a trend reversal indicator. That means we're going to drop down. Simple as that. Simple as that. Let's look at Theta. And we'll probably wrap it up soon, and we'll answer a few more questions. But Theta's the only altcoin I'm going to look at today, just because we've had a lot of Theta requests here. I think that altcoins, you know, generally I can say the same thing about all of them. Some of them might look okay for swing trades, but generally they will look bad. And Theta's no exception. Theta's gone up. I'm very surprised Theta's gone up. As you said, Theta went up 25% because of something that was highly unpredictable. And I would have said Theta was going to go down here, but I think something's gone up here. Some sort of news event or something must have happened because, I don't know, maybe I'm just bad at TA. But yeah, again, you know, we came up. This is the last time I talked about Theta. We came up. We rejected off the red line here. I said we were going to go down to $2.50. Somehow we've broke to the upside against all logic. I mean, the market looks terrible. In the last 2 days, Bitcoin's gone down. Bitcoin's been red for 2 days. So I don't really see any reason why Theta would have gone up besides news. And news is unpredictable. I'm going to assume it was news. But yeah, we've gone up. I wouldn't be buying this at all. Because now we've gone up irrationally against for TA. And when you go up irrationally against for TA, it means you're going to drop soon. Volume is there to sustain it for now. But that's because, yeah, that's a news event, dude. Something's happened with Theta. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad. Who knows? I don't know. I wouldn't buy this. I think it's going to go down, obviously. I don't think it's going to go up anymore. It's at resistance right now. It's at the $4, $5 resistance. I don't think this is going to go up anymore. Unless it's like a major news event that like is sparking this. I don't see, in terms of natural TA, doesn't look like it's going to go up. I'm very surprised this went up at all. Yeah, coming up on the Ichimoku Cloud right now. Bull market support band's still above us. In fact, we're at a very clear rejection zone here for Theta. I think that this is where we get rejected unless something big has happened in the news. You can go ahead and let me know. So hold on one second. What's your top 5 altcoins for holding long term, or do you not hold alts at law? Well, I don't hold any altcoins right now, no. I like buying altcoins at the bear market bottom or at the bull market start and during the bull market. I don't think buying altcoins in a bear market is a logical move. You are the same when you're bullish. Everything is going to go up. I don't know what you mean. I think you're kind of trying to insult me there, I assume, but I don't really know. I assume you're meaning what I said with altcoins. I assume this is what you're referring to. I said that, like, since I'm bearish, I don't know exactly what I said, I can't remember. But since I'm bearish, I think Bitcoin is going down. I think altcoins are generally going to go down. I mean, that's just TA. That's just how it works. If Bitcoin's going down, altcoins go down on a general basis. As I literally said 2 seconds ago, that doesn't mean altcoins can't go up in the short term. Theta's just done it. I'm not blind. But, like, it means generally they're going to go down. And the whole point of investing is to invest with the trend. You don't invest against the trend. That's how you lose money. Unless you're a day trader. In that case, you can invest against the trend, but I assume 99% of people in this chat aren't actually day traders. Okay? I think that's a logical assumption to make. And so, yeah, I'm going to say that. Ethereum's the same as Bitcoin. Yeah, Ethereum's the same as Bitcoin. It looks bad. And again, guys, like, you know, if we get above 48k, I'm happy to be bullish again because, as I say every time, if we get above 48k, we get bullish again, I make more money, I make more followers. I'm very happy to be bullish. I just don't see it. But yeah, it looks the same. Ethereum actually looks slightly better than Bitcoin, to be honest. It looks slightly better. But yeah, generally they just I'm not seeing what I need to be seeing for both of them. If you're allowed to only use one technical indicator on chart, what would that be? I don't think that's a valid question, like, because it's like that question. It's like if you're at a train track and you can choose to depart to train that way, it's going to kill one baby or like 10 people. It's like, I don't know if you know what I'm referring to. I can't speak, but it's just a stupid question. It's like, I don't mean that as an insult. It's just, it's not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to only use one indicator. But if I had to, I assume another way to phrase it is, What is the most important indicator? Well, the most important indicator is support and resistance zones. But if you don't consider that an indicator, I would say volume is the most important indicator. Volume is extremely important. Not in terms of quantity, but in terms of movement. Ton of Theta news, but still expecting it to drop. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so that was not caused by natural price action. I would be very surprised if that was caused by natural price action. That's being confirmed. So predictions, that's the thing with technical analysis. That's why I say that nothing is certain, because anything can happen in terms of macro that can just send it to the moon without any regard for TA. That's what's happened with Theta. So like, regardless of how bad the TA looked, and it looked terrible, it still went up because of the news, right? So can't predict news. Thanks for your insight, friend. No problem. Do you think it's a good idea to trade around market sentiment or future fundamentals? I don't think so. I think it's too much speculation involved. But in terms of like things like interest rates, I think speculation is good. But in terms of like how people are feeling, like are people feeling fearful or greedy today? It's very, very stupid way to trade, in my opinion. Just because people are fearful, it doesn't mean the market's going to go up. Why do you think 2018 happened? Why do you think the market dropped 95, 80% or 90% in altcoins in 2018 and 2015? Do you think people were bullish in 2018? Let's look at 2018. The market's going up a bit right now, which is good to see. I like seeing the market goes up. I hope it goes above 48k. I really do. I really hope it goes above 48k. So let's look at 2018. Do you think people were bullish here, right? So the thing with 2018, it's like a lot of people say like, well, the vast majority of people are always wrong. So in 2018, the vast majority of people would have been scared. The market didn't go up, so it doesn't make sense. It's bad logic, right? What about here? Okay, so in April, we went from 4k all the way up to 60k with very little correction. All right, the vast majority of people would have been bullish. We didn't drop. We dropped in May, but we didn't drop down to 4k. It's just not a good mindset to be in. It's like technical analysis is so much more important than trying to get a grasp of how people are feeling, because the fear greed index, I can tell you right now, is not a good indicator of how people are feeling. It's an indicator, but it's not a good one. If you're allowed to use 1 limb, what would that be? Exactly. You will see 52k and drop to 28k. Yeah, maybe. Like 53k is a very important resistance zone as well, and that's what I mean. It's like 48k. I can say 48k is the critical invalidation point for now, but if we get there and it doesn't look like it, like I'm gonna change my opinion. But like as of right now, 48k is what I'm looking at for sure. On indicators, what ones would you recommend running on TradingView if you haven't got a paid version? Free version limits indicators you use. Well, that's a problem because I don't know exactly what is on the free versions, but I assume volume is there, so volume is very important. If you have any of the indicators on my screen right now, they're all very important. And RSI MACD, very important. To the moon, BTC to 100k in 3 months. Yeah, exactly, dude. BTC to 1 million next week. What is your recommendation for realistic and quality YouTuber to follow for crypto updates? That's a hard question. Like I do have a few that I listen to quite a bit, but I don't necessarily spend a lot of time listening to crypto YouTube. If I did, I would say Crypto Jeb's pretty good. Okay, Crypto Jeb's pretty good. If you get past the fact that he's like constantly talking about Christianity, which isn't a problem, right? I've got no problem with Christians. But like it's a bit obnoxious at some point. Like it's like we're talking about cryptocurrency here, not Christianity. Let's keep on topic. But I think he's pretty good. He spends a lot of time in technical analysis, which is good. Do I agree with his opinions? No, but I don't think I need to agree with someone's opinions to think they're good. I like Mega Whale, of course. I don't know. There's a few that I like. I can't really bring them up right now. Not off the top of my head. Credible Crypto's okay, but I think he's a bit of a perma bull, to be honest. Wrecked Capital's okay, but again, I think he leans too much towards the bullish side. I think the thing with crypto YouTubers in general, and the reason why I try to stay away from them is I generally think they lean too much bullish. Generally. I like Roman Trading. Roman Trading is someone who has a bit of a non-biased perspective, although I would say he leans too much bearish. I was thinking of Roman Trading. Roman Trading was bearish in September. I don't really see any reason why anyone would be bearish in September. But again, that's the thing. It's everyone has their biases. I would say that I don't lean towards either, because I was bullish throughout the entirety of 2021, and I only started being bearish here. But people will still call me a perma bear. It's I don't know, man. But like, I like to see people change their opinions. Okay, here's what I say about it. It's like anyone who is willing to actively change their opinions is probably a good person to listen to. If you get someone who's constantly bullish or constantly bearish over the course of like 6 months, that's probably a bad indicator. Who was your guru? Yeah, I didn't really have a guru, unfortunately. But again, yeah, I did listen to Crypto Jeb quite a bit during the during the initial phases of the bull market, because he was like one of the only people who was actually giving technical analysis. Like, he does live streams that actually have like a dedicated technical analysis segment. Whereas if you listen to like a BitBoy crypto live stream, it's all just random talk about random news events that actually really don't mean anything. Like, technical analysis is very important. But like, again, like, I think that you need to have, say for example, you need to have at least two people you listen to. If you're not going to do your own analysis, have at least 2 people you listen to, one of which being a perma bear, one of which being a perma bull, and then one of which, if you can, find one who's neutral, because you need to hear both sides of the radical argument. It's like with politics, right? With politics, it's like, in order to understand politics fully, what is going on with my computer right now? Fully glitching out. So in order to understand politics, in my point of view, you need to understand fascism, and you need to understand communism, and then you need to understand a point of view in the middle, and you need to understand where you stand on that radical spectrum. So it's like fascism, communism, centrism, and then you need to understand, and then you need to like decide where you lean in regards to that whole spectrum. You need to get an idea of like where the whole spectrum is, and then understand where you like sit in that spectrum. I don't know if that makes sense. It kind of makes sense to me. Given how crazy these last 2 years have been, the Fed and the markets, supply shortages around the world, housing prices, etc., I can't see how we could avoid a recession. Yeah, again, I can't see it either, but I understand that I'm not necessarily an economist. But I would say it's not worth being bullish here. It pays to be cautious. It pays to be cautious. When you don't know what's going to happen, it pays to be cautious. Crypto YouTube is full of clickbait and ridiculous thumbnails. I agree with you 100%. Roman is bearish at $100 Bitcoin. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Lol, do you technical analysis people even know? Do technical analysis even know? You do technical analysis even on people to know whose opinion to listen to. Again, I can't read, bro. But yeah, for sure. You have metrics for everything. Well, I think that's a way to live life. I think you need to have metrics for everything. Especially when you're talking about the market. Like, I think that, like, in order to understand, it's like politics, bro. Like, again, it's like politics. It's like politicians, should I say. If a politician is constantly arguing for one thing, regardless of the evidence supporting the other thing, you're not going to listen to that politician. Same thing with perma bulls and perma bears. The only thing is, it's hard to grasp whether someone is a perma bull or perma bear. Because for me, for example, all of the people who have found my channel since November would label me as a perma bear because the whole time they've known me, I've been bearish. But they don't look at the past. So again, it's very hard to get an indicator without listening to them for like 2 years. Sorry to ask this. What do you think the price of Render and Thorchain could be by June? Just make your prediction. I'll look at one of them. I'll look at Thorchain. I think is Thorchain 4. It's Rune, right? Thorchain's Rune, I think. Yeah, it is. It's Rune. You know what? Actually, go ahead. I did a Thorchain video, I think like literally 2 weeks ago, but it's dropped below the structure. What's the price by June? Very specific. I don't think I'm going to be able to give you that, but yeah, I mean, we're kind of, this is one of the charts that looks okay. It's like we've got a double bottom formation. Even though we've dropped below this long-term structure, we have a double bottom formation forming. There's a potential we do something like that, come back up to the red line and then reject. But I think that's probably the most likely scenario. Where's the next support? Well, the next major support for Thorchain's down at $1. I think that will be the bear market bottom. We have support here at like $3 as well, but that's what we're currently testing. There's really not much support for Thorchain unless I'm missing a larger macro scale between around $3 and $1. And so it's very risky. If we drop below $3, we're going to $1. Unless we form something new, but I don't think that's going to happen. Sorry to ask this. I already answered that. Aren't you a perma bear since you're completely out of the market? No. Okay, so perma bear means someone who's permanently bearish regardless of all of the evidence. It's like I'm not permanently bearish. I'm bearish right now based on what's happening right now. But when we reach the bottom, I'm going to be bullish, right? So a perma bear is someone who's like constantly negative. And a perma bull is someone who's constantly bullish. So you can compare that to like, well, BitBoy Crypto, constantly bullish, constantly saying 100K. You know, he's a perma bull. Let's not forget they shield their trading links, exactly. Can you do analysis in Theta? Yeah, I've already done that. Scroll back like 10 to 15 minutes and you'll find it. Wolf, you are the hero we don't deserve, but the hero we need. You flatter me. Thanks for the subscribe, Spartans. Do you believe in market makers? Is anyone to manipulate the market on a big scale or know in advance? So does anyone know in advance that Bitcoin will drop to 20k? Well, I don't know if anyone knows exactly if it's going to go to 20k, but I think that, like, as I said, institutions have very good indicators as to where the market's going to go, and that's why it's hard to say. But I think that, like, we wouldn't see sell-offs like this from all-time highs, 69k all the way to 33k in 2 months, if the market makers didn't know something. And whether the thing they know is public knowledge or not is very hard to say. It's like, I don't think they necessarily know too much that we don't know. I just think they react better to information that's already out there. Because the thing is with, like, information is that information can exist without being known. It's like interest rates weren't a topic of analysis back here in November, whereas institutions and corporations would have been thinking about interest rates back here in November, and they want to be ahead of the ball, so they were selling way before it was even in the public eye. And now that it's in the public eye down here at the bottom, they've already sold out of the market. So it's hard to say whether they know something we don't know. Like, I don't think necessarily that institutions know information we don't know or isn't available to us. I just think they know it a lot earlier, or they make it more important to themselves a lot earlier so they can react before us. I think that the important part isn't control of information. The important part is being able to react before retail, if that makes sense. Institutions look at weekly and monthly timeframes. I think they do, yeah. I think they also, on occasion, look at the daily timeframes as well, and things like leverage and stuff like that, because they love flushing people out. I mean, otherwise, why would 2021 look like that? That's not natural. That's institution manipulation. But again, it doesn't mean it wasn't predictable. It was all predictable, but it still was manipulation. Manipulation is predictable. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there, I think. Going for about an hour and 15 minutes. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. I'll upload the Bitcoin segment of this live stream to YouTube within about an hour or two, because I like to upload the clips there, just so I don't have to make a YouTube video now, an independent one about Bitcoin, because I've already talked about Bitcoin a lot. But the DXY, just before I go, DXY's pumped up quite a bit since we've started talking. Bitcoin's back at 43.5k, back to where we started. Nothing really too important's happened there. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next live stream. Peace.